Hello everyone. Today we are discussing Industrial Revolution. As you can see on the board here, we will be looking at three areas: invention, causes, eras, and bit of an impact of the Industrial Revolution. As you are aware that humanity has gone through many cycles and different phases of the history, which includes Ice Age, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Classical Antiquity, and Modern Era. Indus Revolution perhaps is the most significant development in the history of mankind that had reshaped and reset the entire civilization. So when we discuss the invention of the human industrial revolution, we want to understand that the Europe after the collapse of the Roman Empire and of course the rise of the Islam in the Middle East, the Europe was going through medieval ages. It was going through dark ages. And there comes a period where there is a free thinking sort of like campaign. There were free thinkers led by the Martin Luther, and they come up with new ideas which proposed and which sort of advocated the freedom of thought and freedom of expression, which is also known as a period of Renaissance that led to the Reformations. So we understand there was a time of the Great Schism, and this is where the real things kick in and people start using experimentation as scientific discovery and scientific inventions. So when we discuss industry and revolution, there are two different words. When we look around us, everything is a form of a business, be it a marker, be it shoes, be it clothes. Everything that we use on daily basis is the form of a business. And when we manufacture one unit of any product or service, a product, for example marker, under one roof, and there are thousands of sort of units have been produced, that becomes factory. But if it is done in the home, it is just an artisan working on any product. Okay, so when we discuss thousands of units produced under one umbrella, that is factory, and we collate all those factories, that becomes an industry. So when we discuss industry, tech industry has mobile phones from different providers, and each provider is manufacturing mobile phones under one roof. That's one thing that we want to understand. Yeah, and then comes revolution. Revolution, of course, is the outcome of some kind of political or social campaign. But in this regard, we see there are many things at play here, where Reformation is leading to free thinking, free ideas, and freedom of expression, which results in the scientific discovery and scientific experimentation. So one thing that we want to understand, back in the days just before the industrialization that started in England in about 1760, 1770, no one is 100% sure where it actually started in England, but we do know that yes, there was a transformation, a change that occurred, and that radical change led to the modern world that we are living in today. So yeah, the very first thing that happened in terms of inventions and in terms of the change in the work processes, the production from the households went to the factories. So if I'm an artisan, back in the days there were artisans who used to train their sort of like trainees, and they used to pass the set of skills that they had accumulated over the period of time. So yeah, artisans moved from the houses, they moved to the factories, and the mass production started. The second thing that changed, the handmade things were made by machines now. So these are the two sort of significant developments that occurred in the business processes and the business world, coupled with the sort of like invention of spinning jenny, because at that time textile was a big business, still is. So James Hargreaves come up with something that can weave threads up to 8 threads simultaneously at the same time. So if I'm weaving something, I'm weaving a thread and I want to make a sweater, I can do it with one thread with my bare hands. But if I'm using a spinning jenny, which was the sort of like a start of industrialization and the mass production, I can weave 8 threads at a time. And that led to a better version called water frame by Richard Arkwright, which perfected the spinning jenny and came up with slightly new features, but it's a collation of 2 or 3 technologies of that time. So we have found a new technology, and we are going to pave the foundation of the future on that. But above all, the most important find was by James Watt, and that was the steam engine. You want to understand, when the people were living in 1800, their lifestyle, the standard of lifestyle was pretty much like the Neanderthals. There was not much difference. Of course, they had learned new techniques and there were new tools, but such was the case before the industrialization. And if you compare modern human of today with primitive age, you can see a huge difference, drastic difference, isn't it? So when we are discussing steam engine, the earliest fuel that we know to sort of like do the work was manpower. So you had to push the things around, and that manpower was used, or maybe cattle, maybe some animals could be used to sort of like fuel the work that we were doing. And that was replaced by water at one point, that we had the water that could help you crushing things and all with the help of the spinning frame. Later comes steam engine, where they discovered that steam can be used as a fuel in the engines, and that can sort of modernize all the railways, ships, and all the technology of that time. And that steam engine, mind you, was founded in England, and that formed the basis of the new technology that would be coming in. So right from there in 1780s, when the steam engine was actually discovered and invented, we move on to 5 different eras of industrialization. You'll be surprised to know that we are in Industry 5.0 that we call. So Industry 1.0 is the era of mechanization that we have just understood, that yes, humans, when they were moving from the primitive age and they had to do the washing of the clothes just next to the river side, and they did not have electricity, they did not have the light bulb, all these things changed dramatically with the help of the steam engine, and that helped the society to grow, that helped the farming, that helped the connectivity, that helped the transportation through railways, that helped the transportation through sea ships. So this is all sort of like with the invention of one thing that occurred in England. And before that, we want to understand England had abundance of coal, and coal was used to create steam, and then steam was used as a fuel. So we are looking at the transformation in terms of the source of the energy that has powered big equipment and big vessels and big technologies. So we understand there are 5 eras of industrialization. The 1.0 occurred in 1780, that lasted for about like say 90 years, and in 1870 we have got new technology in, and that was by Henry Ford, where we were using electricity in the manufacturing units in the factory. But one thing that Henry Ford comes up with is the assembly line. So he builds an assembly line where car can be manufactured, and this car can be manufactured by using multiple workers over there. And if I am manufacturing a car and I have to walk a mile to get my gadget and come back, I will be wasting time. So he comes up with an assembly where everyone is standing and the car parts are moving. All you have to do is to assemble the parts into the car. And interestingly, you will be surprised to know that one of the facts that I've come across, they were manufacturing or assembling car every 32 seconds. Such was the productivity level, such was the efficiency and effectiveness of the manufacturing at that time. Industry 3.0 is automation, and that is after 1970, where we see the automation is taking pace, and we understand in terms of automation, robotics have come into play. So we started using automated watches and other things that can be used as alarm, and we understand bionic arm and all, and there are many things that computer could do for you, and that was the age of 1970. And the modern era, where we have got the age of digitization, where we are converting all the manual work, files and everything to digital sort of like data. And digitization is different from digitalization. Digitalization is about integration of all the digital devices. For example, I have an Apple Watch, Apple phone, maybe Apple laptop. I can integrate all these things with the help of the digitalization. So we are going through this age of artificial intelligence, and we want to understand right from the start that technology has been changing and the media has been changing, right from the print media, which was at its peak in 1900. 1930 we have got radio transistors, 1960 we have got TV, 1990 we have got internet, and 2020 we have got artificial intelligence. 2050 we might be having synthetic intelligence. So we can see the transformation that is taking place every 30 years, and it's very interesting, very astute observation by me, that things are changing. But this era where digitalization is taking place is very decentralized. Humans don't have much control over the digital gadgets and digital devices. They have got their own decision power, and there have been fears that yes, they might become autonomous, they might be sentient, as there have been few cases where we understand that uh, people who were trying to end the AI program, AI started blackmailing them. But that's not a topic. We want to understand that yes, over the last 200 years or 300 years, 250 years, we have seen a drastic change in terms of technology that has reshaped the society, brought new challenges, and brought new benefits as well. Industry 5.0, which is still in the making, we don't know how it will be, but here humans will be working with the AI, where they will work collaboratively. AI will become more decentralized from its point, and humans will have more control over the AI. It will be more centralized, and humans will be empowered with the help of the AI. So we understand now that yes, right from the start, from England, industrialization started spreading all over the world. Initially, there was a policy of protectionism in England, where they wanted to protect their transfer of technology, transfer of human resource, transfer of knowledge. But some Englishmen went to Belgium and they opened a machine shop there, from where it spread in Belgium and then France and then rest of the Europe picked up, and America joined this industrialization in the late 19th century. And interestingly, Japan and China joined industrialization in the 20th century, and they've done so well, especially China, which has in many cases outclassed America with the marvel of its engineering and with the marvel of its inventions. So we have understood, yes, last 250 years have been full on, because we have gone through the wide changes in the big changes in the history, right from the ice age, stone age, and then we have bronze age, then an iron age, then we have got classical antiquity, and after the classical antiquity, renaissance takes place in Europe, enlightenment takes place, and there's a new movement by Martin Luther which asks for the freedom of speech and thought, and the churches loses their power, and sort of like humans as individuals, they become more empowered to take their decisions, and that led to the scientific discoveries. And there was some invention in England after that in the time of Reformation, and that leads to the industrialization of the Europe and different parts of the world, especially America and Japan and China. So what caused, why England, why industrialization took place in sort of like England? Why is it important for the students to understand? Because even if countries, third world countries, like or maybe the countries that are not the developing countries, Zambia, or maybe small countries, if they want to pick or learn from the you know the model of the industrialization that took place in England, just like Japan and China have done that, they can also sort of like use this sort of like model to become more developed and more sort of like a first world type country. And it is never too late. I understand that there are countries which are still working on industrialization. For example, my country, Pakistan, is an agricultural economy. For example, Thailand is a tourist economy. If you talk about Saudi Arabia, it's an oil-oriented economy. But if you talk about England, America, they are industrialized economies. So yes, at some point, in order to compete with the world in the fields of the technology, semiconductor and all, we will have to sort of like initiate the process of industrialization using already available technology and adding a new strain of technology on top, and competing with the rest of the world at the global level. So that's something we want to do. So one of the major sort of like foundational reasons, main reasons, was congenial atmosphere in UK, in England, since it was an empire at that time. Because when we discuss industrialization, we are looking at, of course, industrialism. That's industrialism, and we are also looking at globalism, because as you understand that globalization started, Western globalization started once Christopher Columbus had discovered America, and with the power of a steam engine and with the roads, these empires, British Empire, French Empire, Spanish Empire, were able to colonize the other parts of the world, especially Brazil, and these parts of the South America were in the control of the Spain. Egypt and other parts were in the control of the France, and of course, who doesn't know about British Empire? Pakistan, India, and subcontinent were in the possession of the British Empire. So globalism is another thing that we have to understand, and then comes imperialism. Imperialism is another emperorship is another area that we can look at, that empire system. Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. There were different empires, and comes out of all these things is capitalism. We want to understand capitalism, why Adam Smith in 1770 wrote the book An Inquiry into the nature of the wealth of the nation, and he talks about the division of work. And of course, this course, Industrial Revolution, has given birth to different courses such as change management, organizational development, principles of management. Because once the factory conditions were changing, there was abysmal conditions in which workers were working, and that could be a second topic for us, but I'm just giving you a clue about it. Frederick Winslow Taylor came up with his own scientific principles of management. Then comes Henry Fayol, and then Lillian and Gilbert, and they all contributed to the field of the principles of management to make it better. So when we discuss capitalism, that's another area. Comes militarism. All these things are the offshoot. They are the offshoot of, if I'm not wrong, of the industrialization. And we have to understand these concepts separately as well in a lecture. So there was a congenial atmosphere. People were enjoying freedom of thought in England. They had abundance of coal, and since people were making scientific discovery, that marks the start of the Industrial Revolution in England. Second, it was a colonial empire, so they were able to procure or extract resources from the different parts of the world to feed their industries in England, and that also played a crucial role in the expansion of the Industrial Revolution. Then we are looking at natural resources. The British Empire was able to, not only did they have the basic ingredients required for the Industrial Revolution, they could procure sort of resources from the different parts of the world as well. So that was another thing that made a significant contribution in this Industrial Revolution. And comes increase in demands for goods. So there was a massive increase in demands because there was Napoleonic wars going on. France was in war with different countries of Europe. So just like America benefited from the Second World War, they started exporting the defense equipment and other things during the Second World War. France and other countries were asking for goods from England, and England's industries were booming. They were doing great business. So that's another factor that contributed. Comes availability of labor. There was a law that was passed in England that they had to, all the farm holders or the landlords, they had to fence their field as per the new law. But since the small farmers did not have enough resources to fence it, they sold their lands to the rich people, to the bigger landlords, and that gives an idea of rich will get richer, poor will get poorer. And those people who sold their lands in the rural area to the bigger landlord, they moved to the cities, urban areas, and this is where the industries were. And industries were having a relentless supply of the laborers, and laborers were competing with each other. They were willing to work for even cheaper prices. So there was a proper supply of the labor and the human workforce for this Industrial Revolution as well. So that's another factor, and this is how it actually occurred, because of the law that was passed to barricade or to fence the fields. And the last one was effective transportation system. There was a proper channel in terms of like sea transportation and railway transportation. That also helped in expansionism of not only British Empire but Industrial Revolution as well. So it's a very broad overview that I have given to you. Of course, there's a lot to understand and learn about it. I'll see you in the next lecture, and we'll see what we can discuss related to Industrial Revolution. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.